Hello, my name is Dan Johnson and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the brand new 13th Doctor adventure, and that is called Aegis. This is the 6th episode on the 12 episode run, and it counts as sort of a season finale, well, a mid-season finale, sorry. Throughout the previous 6 episodes, we have been tracking the appearances of a entity called the Tourist, and within this episode, the Doctor and Yaz are investigating a corporation called the Aegis Protective. It's a militaristic organization that has a line of exosuit soldiers, and it's a bit like Villain Guard from the Stephen Moffat years, and I suppose also Shooty's years, and that is run by Juliet Aubrey, who is also probably famous or most famous for playing Helen in Primeval. So with Helen Cutter at the helm, the Doctor and Yaz are trying to work out what on earth is going on with this tourist figure. The first thing I like to say is that they're definitely making this story quite accessible to new listeners of Big Finish who may struggle to follow something quite complicated, like the previous box set that I reviewed called Branches, the Time War stuff. Obviously Time War, so it's going to be complicated, but that's not really a set that's accessible to people. But this range of 6 stories that we've had so far have all been really accessible and rather simple, which I don't know if maybe goes against it. But I really enjoyed the militaristic aspect to this story. I thought Julia Aubrey's performance as the villain was really good. She's not used a massive amount, and I'm wondering if she's being set up to be used as like the big bad or a bad in a future episode, because I like the idea on paper of this character being built up, which would need to be done for this to work, built up to be the opposite of the Doctor. They're parallel, and to be using their knowledge to actually cause harm or to focus on profit rather than the Doctor's way of doing it, and it's like making friends and trying to save people and care for people. Having that aspect and those two sort of going against each other, I think would make quite an interesting episode, if not a finale or a series arc. Character-wise, I think that the Tourist, played by Madison Bullimon, is probably a standout. They do a great job of making the Tourist evil, but you can also sympathise with them a little bit. But they also make them really childish, and that sort of childishness, I think, helps the character a lot because it makes them seem more juvenile, like they need looking after and that they need someone to guide them, rather than evil entity that's sort of destined to destroy the world kind of thing. The other thing that this story has is an evil Yaz, and I think it's a little bit of a disservice to Mandip Gill to do an evil Yaz but not really have her play it, because they stick an overlapping effect on it. Lots of I think Madison Bullimon's doing it as well at the same time, and they're kind of overlapping it, so the performances are getting a little bit muddled, which works in theory, but I think it would have been cool to hear Yaz be more like herself and have the Doctor sort of realise that there's something wrong with her friend and have that conflict that you kind of expect from, the companion being possessed and that evil element coming through. So I was quite surprised by that, because I really thought we were going to get, a bit more conflict between the two of them, at least to begin with. But that doesn't really happen. In fact, they kind of are split up for quite a lot of this episode. I did notice that when I was listening to the story, there's a couple of Americanisms slipped in. My granddad would call them Americanisms, but I think you know what I mean, where at one point Yaz, being from Sheffield, says trash instead of, I suppose, rubbish. I just thought that was a bit of a strange sort of moment in the script. Obviously it doesn't really matter, but it's one of those tidbits that I like to mention. Now that we've come towards the end of the review, I would like to ask myself whether I was satisfied by this release. And today, I think, yeah, I'm really happy with it. There's a few things that I think I felt would go in different ways, don't get me wrong, but I did quite enjoy a lot of elements of this story. The soldier stuff I think is really good, and the Doctor, Jodie Whittaker's doing an excellent performance, and that carries a lot of it. And I felt like it kind of solidified the previous 6 episodes and rounded them off nicely. Which is good. Like I say, I'm glad that they're not continuing this Tourist arc and making it last 12 episodes, because I think if this was the conclusion, that would be a bit of a shame. But now that this story feels like it's over, I feel like the potential of where they can go next is infinite. They can do all sorts of stuff next, and that's quite exciting. I've quite enjoyed the little Tourist arc, I suppose. It's a nice sort of reintroduction to the 13th Doctor. It's had some fun adventures along the way. Lionesses in Winter has been a real standout for me. The Violet Hour, Vampire Weekend particularly, really enjoyed those ones. So I am excited to see what they do next. And like I say, they can do many, many things. And it'd be good to see some returning villains, not necessarily things that Jodie has fought before in the next story, which hasn't actually been announced yet. So perhaps they're saving something for next week where she's going to be going off against, I don't know, Zygons or something. There's a lot of very exciting but very time-consuming and slightly scary things going on for me at the minute. I'm hoping to meet Paul McGann in about 2 weeks, which is extremely exciting. And other than that, I have a few Big Finish releases that will come out next month. So we have the ending to the Meddling Monks Dark Gallifrey trilogy that I will probably do a review on. There's some things that I'm not sure if I'll do reviews on yet, like the new Planet Chronoid box set and the War Room Gallifrey series, which I believe comes out next month as well. Oh, and of course, I nearly forgot the Ninth Doctor Adventures. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.